Oh, you didn't know? Your ass better call somebody!
The energy revealed. Brooklyn to Queens, reppin' both hoods. Rob and CP, keep it fire, misunderstood. Cheer 'em all loud, let the anthem flow. Mets fans unite at the pregame show. From city stand lights to the skyline greens, it's the heartbeat of Queens, the craziest dreams. Rob hype on the mic, CP's the fire spark. Together they ignite, voices like the park fans drift in jerseys. Legacy bold, the Metropolitan story forever told. Turnstile spinning, the crowd floods the gates. This is family, no time for debates. Crack of the Batman, the roar never fades. Queens in the blood, it's how champions are made. Cheer 'em all loud, let the anthem flow. Mets fans unite at the pregame show. From city stand lights to the skyline gleams, it's the heartbeat of Queens, the craziest dreams. 7-line swagger, vibes electric and wild. Mets legacy golden since I was a child. Orange crushed skies, let the battle ignite. Ride for the home team till the last fight.
What's up, Mets fans? It's your boy CP. Welcome back to the Amazing Mets pregame show here on this lovely but wet and rainy Wednesday. It is May 28th, 2025, and we are here to talk about a little bit of a game preview, a game 3 preview between the Mets and the White Sox as the New York Mets are looking for the sweep after a game 2 victory last night by a score of 6-4. We'll talk a little bit about the game from yesterday. I know that there was no post game, so I do apologize about that. I had a little bit of an emergency situation with my puppy. Everything's good. I appreciate everyone being patient. We will do a post game today if there is a game, if the game is on, because again, it is raining. It's starting to rain in the New York metropolitan area. Before we get into it, please do, if you are here in this early morning, going on the afternoon here as we approach 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, please do hit those thumbs up buttons, subscribe to the channel, and make sure to go ahead and drop those comments in the live chat section. All right. It's going to be a quick one, not going to take too much of your time. The game did get pushed up due to weather reasons at 1:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today instead of a night game. It was originally scheduled to be a night game. But before we talk about today's game, let's actually talk about what transpired last night. And the Mets were off to a slow start thanks to Tyler McGill not looking his best in that very first inning, but he did recuperate very well. And this is the final line for Tyler McGill as of last night. He goes 5 2/3 innings pitched, 2 earned runs given up. Both of those runs came off of a Miguel Vargas home run in the first inning. 100 pitches, even 4 hits, 6 strikeouts, and 4 walks, right? Got to get those walks down. And thankfully, it did not come back to haunt him as much as it could have. And the ERA there for the season for Tyler McGill is at a 3.52 following the conclusion of last night. But I think the bigger story is not only the bullpen, right? Jose Butto did scare this entire fan base when he came into the ball game. I personally think, after McGill left this ball game, I really do think that Mendoza was trying to push his luck with Jose Butto. Once he got out of the inning, I thought that we were going to see a clean slate, a new pitcher, and Mendoza rode with Jose Butto, and it ended up backfiring, not completely, right? But Jose Castillo had to come in and get a huge out, and he did so. And that's something where this bullpen has been continuously picking each other up. And Jose Butto now is, again, the numbers at face value don't really, I guess, tell the full story with Jose Butto. He has not looked good as of recent. And we'll continue to see what he provides the New York Mets bullpen moving forward. But I know that he pissed a lot of Mets fans off yesterday with his performance. But I really do think that he was put into a tough situation. If it were me managing the bullpen, I would have put in a new pitcher at a certain point, especially in that fresh inning. But Mendoza wanted to give Butto a little bit more time, a little bit more pitches. And again, it just seemed like he didn't really have it. It seemed like the White Sox were on Jose Butto and what he was throwing from the start. But again, huge outs from Jose Castillo coming in. He hits his first batter in relief, but he settles down, gets the strikeout to end the inning, and then Reed Garrett comes in and does a fantastic job. I think he went 1 2/3. He takes an out or two in the eighth inning and closes it out in the ninth inning as well. Reed Garrett is having a fantastic season, and I want to give him a shout out. We gave Edwin Diaz a shout out in yesterday's pregame stream. We have to give Reed Garrett a shout out in this pregame stream because he is absolutely tearing it up yet again and following up a really good season that he had last season yet again this season. So bullpen continues to get the job done, and that is the good news. And I want to shout out the chat here again. I know it's an early one approaching 12 o'clock in the afternoon. Jose saying, "What's up, LGM? Maybe no game today, right?" I think that they definitely will start this game. I think that the rain should be light enough for them to play through it, at least up front. But I'm no weatherman, right? I don't know exactly what's going on over there. I'm not really in the area. So if anyone is in the area, you let me know if you think that this game is going to get played or at least start. We could see something happen where it's a rain delay during the game and they call the game. And hopefully we are at a point where it's an official game after that and the Mets are on top, because I really, really, really want to come back onto the post game and spam the W's and talk about a sweep, because exactly what we said beginning this series with the momentum that the Mets had taking a series from the Dodgers, this was a much needed sweep coming into this White Sox series. Have the off day tomorrow, have the Rockies coming to town. And I will say, we'll talk about the Rockies series maybe tomorrow, maybe on Friday, right? But that team is giving other good teams great ball games, right? They're losing a lot of ball games, but they are putting up a fight. So nothing comes easy in this league, especially if you're the New York Mets, who just seem to struggle and don't have their best performances and kind of play down to competition at times with teams under 500. So hopefully that's not the case today. Shout out to Steven in the chat. Shout out to Brad in the chat. We'll definitely talk about this lineup. This is the A lineup, ladies and gentlemen. This is the lineup that I've been talking about, that we talked about for 10 plus minutes on the stream yesterday. This is the lineup that I wanted to see, and I want to continue to see moving forward, regardless of what they produce today, against a very solid pitcher in Shane Smith, who we'll also talk about here in just a second. Brad also says LGM. Joel's saying Mendoza wanted to give McGill a shot to finish the inning, but McGill failed, right? I mean, at the end of the day, I'm just impressed with this final line given that first inning. And it just seemed like a little bit of a cheap home run from Miguel Vargas. But, we've seen this time and time again where McGill, like we were saying it on the pregame, when are we going to see the most unlocked version of Tyler McGill, if ever? He's got to keep the walks down. He's got to be efficient. And he did not start the game off yesterday on the right foot. But the offense, thankfully, was up to the task in terms of making up that ground going down 2-0 in the first inning. And Tyler McGill just pitched respectable baseball. I'll say he pitched a respectable game after that first inning all the way for the next 4 2/3 innings. So not overly impressed with Tyler McGill, but he got the job done, right? 2 earned runs. When you have the offense that you have against any team, let alone the White Sox, that's all you can really ask for, right? I don't expect anybody in this rotation to be perfect, but just keep the Mets in the ball game. That's what he did. But, the offense was good. 12 hits overall for the Mets offense yesterday. Lindor having a multi-hit game, 2 for 5 with an RBI. He had a crucial at-bat in the later stages of the ball game to provide the Mets some breathing room as well, which was good to see. And Pete Alonso continues to hit the long ball over the past couple of days after that serious home run drought, the longest in his career that he's gone without hitting a home run. I forgot what it was, like 60 plus at bats, whatever. 2 home runs in the past, 3 or 4 games now. Good to see Pete Alonso's power coming back a little bit. I think that's his 11th of the year. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Brett Beatty swinging a fantastic bat again. 2 for 4, multi-hit game with 2 runs scored. Jared Young, and this is exactly what we were talking about in the pregame yesterday when we're talking about the rotation of the DH. Why are we continuously seeing Jared Young? And for those of y'all who are going to listen in on the postgame when Rob actually joins me, I feel like a lot of people in the chat that were questioning why Jared Young. Listen, I also question why we're seeing Jared Young consistently on an everyday basis as of recently. I have no problems with Jared Young. I have no problems with Jared Young. He is a guy that he did it in the KBO, right? Had a little bit of a failed career coming up into that time where he spent in the KBO getting himself right. And he comes back and he's trying to make a splash. He's trying to make a name for himself. And that's exactly as Rob said in the pregame yesterday, trying to catch this lightning in a bottle from a more or less veteran bat. And he provides you a multi-hit game yesterday with a 2-run home run. That was good to see. And he also just missed another home run in that Dodgers series by a foot dead center field. He has the power and he has good tools at the plate. Now, am I going to continue to sit here and say I want to see him playing every day? Absolutely not. Right? If you're giving me the choice, even though Mark Vientos has struggled all in all, if you're giving me the choice between Mark Vientos and Jared Young, I'm still giving Mark Vientos the benefit of the doubt, which is why I like this lineup so much. But it really does depend on matchups. I really think that there is some analytical component to it. Also, there's a component where Mendoza just feels like he has to shake up the lineup and see what combination works, right? You got Jared Young this offseason for a reason. You know that there was a certain point potentially if the DH spot wasn't producing in the first 2 months of the season where you would need to bring up a guy, which is exactly why you signed him, for the plus upside in his bat that he showed you overseas when playing overseas. So really good to see Jared Young have that game when a lot of Mets fans were questioning why he was in the ball game to begin with in the pregame. Mark Vientos gets a hit, 1 for 3. McNeil, another multi-hit game with an RBI. Really good to see McNeil continue to swing a good bat, a respectable bat. I really like him in that 8 hole, whether it's 7 or 8, it doesn't matter. Bottom 3 for Jeff McNeil is where he is supposed to be. That's where he's supposed to be, and it looks like he's thriving, right? If we can continue to see Jeff McNeil swing this type of bat, we're not asking. I'm not even asking. I've left alone the thought of Jeff McNeil ever being a 300 plus hitter. I think that it's time for Mets fans to move on from that expectation. But what he's doing right now is pretty good. I'll take that all day long. And let's just see what he's up to right now. He's hitting 239 again. Like the splits are what they are. He's swinging a decent bat over the last week. I'm assuming last 7 days, not really, I guess, with the OPS, but last 2 weeks to the last month, the OPS is around 720 and 820 respectively. So again, it's a work in progress, and the expectations have been lowered for Jeff McNeil. And given the lowered expectations, I think that he is meeting those expectations, which is what we can ask for right now until the Mets figure out what they want to do long term at second base, because it's not going to be Jeff McNeil, whether it's Luis Angel Acuna, whether it's Brett Beatty when Ron Mauricio comes up, right, and make a little bit of a makeshift infield and rotate the guys that way. Whatever they decide to do, they got to figure it out. But at the very minimum, with the veteran presence and the versatility, because Jeff McNeil was playing center field yesterday, made a decent catch on the run in the gap, right? Really good to see. Really good to see. I'm impressed, and I'll take it. And Francisco Alvarez rounding things out yesterday offensively with a 1-for-2 day, gets a base hit and a walk. So a little bit of patience, a little bit of hitting the ball up the middle for a base hit, which allowed Luis Angel Acuna, who was stealing on that pitch, to go first to third. And that sets things up perfectly for the New York Mets in that inning. So yeah, listen, Joel, this is exactly what I'm saying, right? The expectations have understandably been lowered for Jeff McNeil. We're not asking him for, to be a 300 plus hitter. We're asking him to get on base any way he can. If he's hitting 240, 250, 260 even, which he's not doing right now, he's actually on the cusp of hitting 240, getting on base and being selective, which doesn't really fit into his approach right now because he does like to swing first pitch. He's not really a guy that likes to take many pitches. He never has been. So we will continue to see how this success, and I'm not like I'm labeling this success, even though he's not really, meeting the previous expectations. But I think with the way that second base is lining up right now, given the rotation that we've had, if Brett Beatty continues to play more third base and Brett Beatty's not an everyday option at second base moving forward, I mean, Jeff McNeil is the second best bet with the way that Luis Angel Acuna has been playing. And I think when Ronnie Mauricio gets up, you can then play Brett Beatty more at second base. That's an option. And I think the residual move at that point would be to send down Luis Angel Acuna, as we talked about yesterday. But that is a future conversation, whether it's next week, whether it's 2 weeks, 3 weeks from now, whenever Ronnie Mauricio is ready to get called up. So, yeah, need Acuna at second base for defensive purposes, I'm assuming you're saying, but Jeff is hitting. Yeah, Jeff is hitting. He's hitting the ball, which is good. Very cloudy in New York. Has the rain started? Anybody in the New York, New Jersey area, has the rain started in that area? I saw something on social media that it has, so I'm assuming that they're going to be playing, if they're playing on time, they're going to be playing in rainy conditions. I think the Mets are going to give it a go. I think you got to give it a go, right? Especially with the off day tomorrow. Give it a go. Why not? Um, Shout out to George. Appreciate you being here. I appreciate you all being here. I appreciate you all being here. I know it's early, but I know you guys like to talk about Mets baseball, so that's exactly why we're here. Carlos is saying he keeps Acuna out again, plays McNeil, who is batting 230. Also, McGill stinks. He is long relief at best. You all know my opinions about McGill in the bullpen. They've tried that out before. It hasn't worked. It hasn't worked. Do they try it out again? Because of a lack of other options, right? Because they don't want to take Canning out. They don't want to take Peterson out. Yeah, they probably will have to try it again. But we've seen that before, that attempt, and we've seen it fail at least 2 times now. So whenever I hear, oh, Tyler McGill just goes to the bullpen, I get a little bit weary because I'm like, I don't really trust him in any high leverage situations out of the bullpen. I don't. So we'll see. And shout out to Darren as well. Longtime supporter of the channel. I definitely appreciate you. Let's talk about today's game. And let's talk about, what do you want to talk about first? The lineup. We can talk about the lineup. We can talk about Griffin Canning. Griffin Canning is trying to follow up. Not really a great start against the Dodgers, right? 2 2/3 innings. I actually didn't watch that game. I didn't see what transpired during that game when Griffin Canning went against the Dodgers. But, he's been pitching really well this season. I know the ERA went up 2.47 going into that Dodgers game, and now it's at 2.88 going into today's game and start today. But all in all, Griffin Canning has been getting the job done. Are there longevity questions, issues, right, that we talked about yesterday with Rob? Of course there are. Can he keep the same pace? We'll see. And this is another guy that if he doesn't as a starter, that's a guy that I have confidence in with the way that he's looked this season to be successful out of the bullpen, maybe even in high leverage situations potentially, right? So that's the outlook of Griffin Canning. But I think the game plan has been simple with Griffin Canning ever since spring training. The Mets told him something in the offseason when they signed him, right? Whether it's Jeremy Hefner, whoever it was that was working with Griffin Canning, they said that they want to see more sliders from Griffin Canning. And at one point, it's actually not the case right now, but at one point, he was throwing his slider a higher percentage of the time than his four-seam fastball. But recently, as I'm looking at his Baseball Savant page, it looks like the four-seam fastball has overtaken the slider by just a little bit. 33.7% compared to 34.3%. But what I will say, last year, Griffin Canning, when he had an abysmal year, 251. Opponents were hitting 251 off his four-seam fastball. And this year, he's gained half a mile per hour on the fastball velocity, right? Which doesn't seem like a lot in the grand scheme of things, but it could make a difference. Opponents are only hitting 196 off of the four-seam fastball, which is really good to see. And the knuckle curveball that he possesses, according to Baseball Savant, he's only throwing it for 5% of the time, which is half of what he threw it for last season. But I guess hitters can't touch it. He's thrown it 43 times total in his starts so far this season, if you guys are curious to get into these numbers. And nobody has gotten a hit off of his knuckle curveball. So really good to see. I think that Griffin Canning has the tools, right? He has the tools and he has the pitch arsenal to I'm like, I think, I don't want to jinx him, but I think that Griffin Canning will find a way to put it together for the rest of the season in this rotation, right? I don't think, unless it gets to be a dire need for the New York Mets, I don't think he's going to the bullpen. I could be wrong, but with the way that he's pitched so far this season and the adjustments that he's made in a Mets uniform compared to an Angels uniform, like he's figured something out. And I think that him figuring whatever he's figured out can transfer through the longevity of the 162 game season. Now, whether the Mets re-sign him or not, right? This is kind of a Sevy situation, right? Do you get the production out of Griffin Canning and then just let him go in free agency, knowing that he's not going to replicate this type of season? Because you can call this a career year again for another Mets reclamation project pitcher. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. But again, I think he's going to be a starter for the long haul. Cope is saying apparently the Mets want to throw a 6-man rotation for this upcoming West Coast trip because we play 10 in 10 days, 10 games in 10 days. So Peterson will probably be our 6th starter for the next couple of weeks. So spot starter or Montas comes back. Let's look at Montas. What is he doing? I haven't seen his rehab starts and how they've been. I know he struggled in his first rehab start. I want to see if they even have these let's see here. Show non-major. Let's see what he's doing. Bear with me as I look up these numbers. Okay. Yeah, Montas has made 1 appearance. Like Montas is not ready. I don't think he'll be back in the next 10 days. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. He threw 1 1/3 innings pitched in high A Brooklyn, and he got shelled. Well, I didn't get shelled. He gave up 2 runs, but it wasn't good. It wasn't a good outing. So, I mean, you're probably saying if that's the case, Cope, I'm sure, because the Mets have gone to they've kept this 6-man rotation. Like this is my thing, right? The Mets want to throw a 6-man rotation for this upcoming West Coast trip. They've already been doing a 6-man rotation. They've already been deploying a 6-man rotation. But it's not the names that you would be accustomed to, right? With Manaya and Montas being on the IL. It's been Waddell, right? With Huascar Brazaban as an opener 2 times already. You know what I mean? It's been Blade Tidwell. So it's been Justin Hagenman so far this season. So they've kept this 6-man rotation, but it doesn't seem like it because almost every 6th day, it's kind of like a bullpen game, so to speak. But the 6-man rotation is going to look a lot better, I would hope, when a guy like Montas comes back. Now, we don't know what Montas is going to give us, right? $17 million contract per year for 2 years. A lot of people were upset about that. I quite frankly think that it's also an overpay for Frankie Montas, but he also has the upside that David Stearns has talked about in the offseason with his press conferences. And he had very high praise for Frankie Montas. So we will see if that works out. Any pitchers really that we have been questioning since David Stearns took over this team in terms of signings and maybe trades, but more so signings like Severino, like Manaya, right? Like Griffin Canning, more or less, they've seemed to work out. They've seemed to work out. Now, does that trend continue? It makes a lot of people kind of, iffy. But we'll see with Frankie Montas because it's another guy where the jury's still out on him, really. So, but yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you all for the puppy love here. He's doing all right. Yeah, he had a severe allergic reaction. I had to go to the ER vet, but he's all good. So I appreciate you all checking up on that. He's in good spirits, so that's good. But let's talk about the other side with the pitching before we get into the lineup here, and we'll run things out as we're 25 minutes onto the stream. By the way, if you enjoy the Mets talk, I keep it as honest as possible, right? Trying to give you all different perspectives of what I think versus what the team could be thinking. Make sure to hit the thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. If you're a first-time listener, subscribe to the channel, whether you're listening live or on the replay, and keep dropping the comments. Keep dropping the comments. I read every single one of them. I want to hear what you all have to say. Let's talk about Shane Smith because this is not going to be an easy task for the Mets offense. Even though I love this lineup, I love this lineup. Shane Smith is a very talented pitcher. Um, First year pitcher, by the way, in the majors, 25 years old, so still relatively young. And I bet the White Sox are very excited with what they have in Shane Smith. He's pitched so far to a 2.36 ERA, and this is his arsenal that you can see on the right-handed side of your screen. Predominant four-seam fastball, just around 95 miles per hour averaging. So I would assume that he can get up to 96, maybe 97 if he would like to, right, in certain situations. Again, I haven't really watched much White Sox baseball, but from what I hear, Shane Smith is the real deal. Changeup, good distribution right there. The changeup is actually his best pitch. So he's kind of mimics Adrian Hauser in that sense, because Adrian Hauser's changeup was giving the Mets fits a couple nights ago. So the Mets are going to have to deal with another predominant changeup pitcher with the secondary stuff, with a slider, right? He throws the slider around the same velocity, a touch slower, and for a little bit of less of usage with the slider. But I think that if you're a Mets hitter in this lineup, right, you have to be looking for seam fastball. You have to be looking for the fastball and adjusting to the off speed, primarily the changeup. Primarily the changeup. And with the changeup, he doesn't have an insane ground ball rate. It's around 61st in terms of the percentile, but he can get, induce ground balls and get double plays if the Mets get traffic on the bases. So, again, picking up the changeup out of his hand early, if it has that late break, and you notice that in the first inning, these Mets hitters have to adjust the second and third time around. So it's not going to be an easy task against Shane Smith. I will forewarn all of you watching this stream right now about that. It's going to be, and that's probably why Mendoza made the lineup he did yesterday, which put up 6 runs, versus going with what I think is the A lineup. I think a lot of people in this fan base, if you disagree, please let me know. But I love this lineup. I think that this, with the personnel that the Mets have right now, this on your screen is the Mets A lineup. And so it seems like Mendoza understands who is on the other side of the mound and is like, all right, time for the sweep. No funny business. Let's get this sweep and let's put out the best combination that we possibly have, which is what you see on your screen as of right now, with the personnel, with the defensive alignments, and with the recent performances of each player, right? A lot of people talking about Luis Angel Acuna. I have been an advocate for Luis Angel Acuna this entire season, even going back to spring training. I said he deserves the job. He deserves at least the roster spot and the ability to platoon and compete at second base. For a certain time period, a couple of weeks, he was winning that job. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden his approach starts to change. But it's no secret. We got to be objective here. As much as I like Luis Angel Acuna, as much as I think that he probably will be going down when Ronnie Mauricio comes up, and that's okay because he's 22 years old. It's not crunch time for him like it is for Ronnie Mauricio, 24 going on 25, Brett Beatty, Mark Vientos, who are already 25 years old. That's okay. He can go develop in AAA, and that's fine. I'm sure he'll be back up later this season anyways. But Jeff McNeil's swinging a better bat. Not a great bat, but a better bat than Luis Angel Acuna at this point. A lot of people, if you look at the numbers, will agree to that because it's objective. It's not really subjective. I'm telling you the truth. But this is the best lineup. Brett Beatty back in that 5-hole, multi-hit game yesterday in the 5-hole, 2 for 4, like I just went over a couple minutes ago. Good to see. I like this top 5 and I like this top 6. Torrens, you get Torrens over Alvey with the day game instead of the night game. Clearly, Alvarez wasn't going to go back to back. With that being the case, I think even if it was a night game today, you'd still see Luis Torrens out there. I really do think that. But especially because it's a day game, Luis Torrens is out there and Tyrone Taylor patrolling center field. Jeff McNeil plays a respectable center field for an infielder converting back to the outfield. But Tyrone Taylor's unmatched out there. And he's swung also a respectable bat so far this season. As a fourth outfielder, right? Brought in to be at least when he was traded for as a fourth outfielder. to transitioning as an everyday starter, especially with the Jose Siri injury, you know, this is a good lineup. This is a good lineup. And I like the placement of everybody as well. I like the placement of everybody as well. Righty, lefty, lefty from 4 through 7 with Alonzo, Beatty, Vientos, McNeil. And Brandon Nimmo also back in that 2 spot. I think that Brandon Nimmo, if he is able to figure it out at that 2 spot, I think that's what will start to unlock this Mets offense. I think that's what will start to unlock this Mets offense. Obviously, in conjunction with Juan Soto figuring it out. He went 0 for 4 yesterday with a strikeout. He hit a couple balls really hard yesterday. And one of those weird plays where Juan Soto hit it in the gap, Michael A. Taylor was out there. I think it was Michael A. Taylor, just made a tremendous play on the ball. And Brandon Nimmo was going back because they thought that he caught the ball. And I guess he did catch the ball, maybe. I don't know exactly. It was weird, but Juan Soto should have been standing on second base with Brandon Nimmo either scoring or on third base. And Juan Soto actually overran Brandon Nimmo because Nimmo was running back to first base. It was a weird play. Again, just, a ball that's absolutely rocketed by Juan Soto in the gap, and he doesn't get rewarded for it in terms of the overall statistics. And he had another ball as well that was just absolutely hammered, and it found a glove. So that's baseball. Juan Soto even said it in his post game. He's like, baseball's weird sometimes. I just got to accept that. He'll figure it out eventually. I think he will. I'm tired of the Juan Soto discussion. If you can't see it on my face right now, I'm exhausted by it because I don't think this guy's playing bad. I don't think this guy's playing bad by any stretch of the imagination. He's expanding the zone a little bit. He's guessing a little bit at the plate. But I think that he's putting respectable at-bats together, even though the end result has not really showed itself. I think the end result will start to show itself. And that's why I'm like, a lot of people just love the end result, which is fine. It's a results-driven game, and I understand that. I'm not trying to, sell you on baseball not being results-driven. But if you have a player that is struggling, you start to look for signs of them trying to break out of it, right? There are subtle signs in the at-bats that are like, okay, he's probably going to break out of it. Brett Beatty is a testament to that, right? Nimmo recently is a testament to that. And Pete Alonso recently, after slumping for a couple of weeks with the average going down, 50, 60 points, is also a testament to that with the power that he's displayed over the last 3 games. So the offense with runners in scoring position is a problem. That's clear as day. 1 for 7 2 days ago and 1 for 6 yesterday. Francisco Lindor was the only guy to get a base hit yesterday with runners in scoring position. Shout out to the captain, Francisco Lindor, for doing that. But individually, outside of the runners in scoring position numbers, which are putrid for a lot of this team, right? It's not just Juan Soto. A lot of this team struggles with runners in scoring position. That's why they are ranked bottom 2 overall as a team in those situations. I think individually, I'm starting to see better at-bats, but it's up to them to continue that. It really is. It's up to them to continue those good at-bats. So that's all I have for you all. Again, a really talented pitcher that the Mets lineup is going up against. I really love this lineup. We'll see if they give the results that I expect to see. But even still, if the Mets go out there and stink with this lineup, I still think that this is the best lineup that the Mets can throw out there. Personnel-wise, you can rearrange the bottom half of the order. Okay, sure, fine, whatever. But I think that this is the best lineup defensively and offensively that Mendoza can put out there. Not just today, but moving forward in the next stretch of games in the West Coast trip, etc. This is the lineup. But naturally, Alvarez is going to be taking a lot of playing time as well in that platoon role with Luis Torrens. So curious to see, as we've been saying on multiple previous streams going back the last couple of days, I'm curious to see what point in this season Mendoza stops experimenting with the lineup more often than he doesn't. Meaning, when is he going to find one lineup and stick to it almost on a daily basis and then give scheduled off days? Because we haven't seen that just yet. It's been a platoon. It's been shuffling players in and out. Jared Young, one game. Luis Angel Acuna the next game. Brett Beatty at second base, one game. Brett Beatty at third base the next game. McNeil at second base, one game. McNeil at center field the next game. You know what I mean? Like, it's a continuous shuffling. And maybe there's a point this season where we're in August and we're still seeing this. Maybe Mendoza is just going to carry this strategy for many months. I don't know. Would I agree with that? No. Do I think that's going to be the plan? No. But you never know. So let's go get the sweep. 1:10 p.m. start time. We're approaching about 40 minutes until game time. I appreciate you all being here. The post-game show, if this game is happening, if the rain doesn't mess things up, we are live for the post-game show. I know that we've been kind of absent the last couple of days. We were meaning to do the post-game shows. Things happen with our schedules. Things pop up. We apologize, but we will be live. We will be live. So I appreciate it. Again, if you're in the chat, I appreciate you all participating in the chat. It means a lot. Hit the thumbs up as always and subscribe to the channel if you like the Mets talk on this channel. So I appreciate it. Let me get into some more of the comments here before we head out. I haven't really been looking at the comment section, but I'm going to scroll up to give you all a little bit more time here. Let's see what people are saying. No Vientos in the 2-hole. Trade Beatty. Trade Beatty is crazy with the way. Listen, you know, I've been speculating for a while that trade Beatty is going to happen, right? That's going to happen. Is his stock rising to be the future third baseman of this team, or is his stock rising with the recent play as trade bait? So what Rels is saying in the chat, there could be some merit to it, but I'm not going to go there just yet. Yeah, you know, this is the best lineup personnel-wise that you could throw out. And I know a lot of people. Actually, I'm not a lot of people, but there were some people in my mentions on social media saying, "Oh, Jared Young, like, you know, he should be DHing over Vientos because Jared Young just had a great game yesterday." Like, okay, you know, play the hot hand, but really, how much have we seen of Jared Young? You know what I mean? And that's why I said at the top of the stream, I'm always going to give, not always, but more often than not, especially this early into Jared Young's professional tenure on the Mets this season, I'm going to give Vientos the benefit of the doubt over Jared Young. So, you know, that's just the way that it is. So I'm glad to see that Cope agrees. Let's see here. Shout out to David. Appreciate you. Let's see here. Very light rain, says George. Okay, that's good. That's good. Let's see. Shout out to Jeremy. Let's go Mets. LFGM. Yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate the chat. Thank you as well, Brad, for being here. That's really all I got for you all. Really nothing else. Shane Smith is talented. Mets lineup hopefully gets it done. Griffin Canning, bounce back performance. And let's talk about a sweep on the post game. All right. This was the Amazing Mets pregame show. See you all after the game. Peace. I'm out. Let's go Mets.